It's a short walk, but I love it every time. How are you guys? Thank you so much for coming tonight. Oh, and you're awake. That's great. Thank you guys so much. I know it's so fucking hot outside. I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. Welcome to Awkward Teenage Years. I'm your host, Grant Bowen. By a round of applause, how many people have been to an Awkward Teenage Years show before? Okay. And how many of you, this is your first time? Okay, all right, great. Well, hopefully this won't be your last time. You guys are in for a lot of fun. What we are, just to lay the groundwork out, we are a storytelling show. We have a great lineup of guests here tonight that are going to share with you true stories, all true, from their middle school and high school years. And stories usually, involving the usual, like first dates, taking tests, first drinks, first cars, and ultimately coming of age. It's a good time. We always love having you here. Just letting you know, I'll be up here between each story and everything. We've got our bathrooms back that way. So if you got to get up in the middle of the show, just wait till I'm up here rambling like an idiot. Disrespect me all you want to, but please give our guests the time and attention they deserve. We really appreciate you being here. I think I'm just going to ramble for a bit up here to give our latecomers some time to arrive. I don't know if you noticed on your way here, but it's summer. And for a lot of teenagers, summer means having to get a summer job. And when I think back about, I had a few summer jobs growing up. Oh, man. It's been a long road, people. But no, I had a few summer jobs. For a couple of summers, my dad's a CPA. I worked in his office, working reception, filing, copying, because my dad knew that the biggest benefit to having children is free labor. There was one summer in particular where I worked a volunteer job at an assisted living facility, which I've talked about on this show before, which you can find online. More on that later. And then, but the biggest, the first really big paying job that I had, big in air quotes, was working as a group leader at the Children's Day Camp at my church growing up. I grew up in Alabama. I went to a big Southern Baptist mega church, huge building, lots of resources and facilities. And every summer they offered a day camp for kids where parents could drop them off in the morning. And it's it's time for music. It's time for arts and crafts. It's, time to play in the gym. It's time to watch a movie for an hour and be silent. But at the time I was fresh out of high school. I was 18. I was very much like an awkward, insecure kid, very squeaky clean, didn't drink, didn't curse, still a virgin, all the whole 9 yards. But also a good worker. I wanted to show up. I wanted to make a good first impression. And this was this wasn't it was enough to pay for my gas, but it was something to help tide me over until I had to start college the following semester. And for the most part, that was all well and good, but there were a couple of complications with that. One was that my group was entirely made up of 7 and 8-year-olds. And if there's any parents in the room, I don't know if there are, 7 and 8 is the age when they learn how to talk back. When they learn oh wait, I don't have to do everything I'm being told. If I don't like somebody or something, I can just say it. Let's see where this goes. And like I said before, I was 18. But I was only 18. I think, yes, legally you're an adult, but I think we can all agree that no one really, mentally and emotionally matures until they're, 25 or so. So I was still very much that insecure high school kid. So whenever I was having a day where, one of the kids in particular would be "You're stupid, Mr. Grant," it took a lot of restraint for me to not go, "No, you're stupid. No, you are. You don't know. You don't know. I have a car. I'm going to college. I read Lord of the Flies twice, and I hated it, and now I'm living it." And the girls were no easier either. One day in particular, they were playing video games, and this girl wouldn't share. So I go over and I tell her, "Sarah, you have to share with everyone else." And she immediately starts crying. I'm a very anxious person. I am constantly worried about people not liking me. So when you're a physically full-grown adult making a little girl cry, you feel like an absolute piece of shit, no matter what. Yeah, a very big, tumultuous summer job, and I walked away that summer being like, you know what, I think I'm gonna stay a virgin just a little bit longer, because I don't need this in my life at all right now. Well, that's it. Well, and on that note, how about we get started with the show, everybody? Are you ready? Let us bring up our first storyteller. She's born and raised in Miami, Florida. She lives in Astoria, Queens. She has produced, hosted, created interactive comedy variety shows in New York City over the past 10 years. Her favorite credits include the Mr. Rogers Variety Hour, Melania's Day Off, I love this, and the Sexy Bernie Power Hour. She loves taking long, spontaneous walks and encourages you to take one soon. Please welcome Ali Levin.
Oh, wow. Give it up for yourselves, everyone. Give it up for our host. All right, here we go. The year is 2003. It's May. Ruben Studdard is about to win season 2 of American Idol and bless everyone with his cover of the song Flying Without Wings. Who can deny the joy it brings when you found that special thing? You're feeling it. You're flying without wings. We're here, everybody. Welcome to Ali at 13. Okay, fantastic. I am 4'11", but I have a 4'8" wingspan. Okay, I am boobless. I am fierce. I am prepubescent. I am the vice mayor of my middle school. I am also the lead front spot cheerleader for the competition squad. And like I said, I'm prepubescent. I'm the oldest of 2 siblings, and my parents are recently divorced. So I exist in this emotional vortex of encompassing childlike wonder, teenage curiosity, and middle-aged sorrow. I am a recent bat mitzvah, shout out to Cantor Nelson and Rabbi Simon. And during my service, I completely nailed the solo prayer song, Modi Manachnu La. So now everybody knows that I have an incredible singing voice. And I am also very attracted to the rabbi's middle son, Micah. He is the black sheep of the brothers, and not a big deal, but he smokes weed, he plays basketball for the Temple League, and he wears his shorts just a little bit too high for the early 2000s. It's really great. I, too, play basketball for the Temple League, but I purposely do not make a shot the entire season because my stepfather is my coach, and fuck my stepdad. More on that later. And I experienced my first kiss, my first makeout with tongue and a ton of saliva, and I'm at the movies, and I remember afterwards, I run to the bathroom, and I see I have this gorgeous film of saliva on top of my mouth, and I remember feeling so horrified, but also like, my life rules. My social life is sick, and, but I have to keep things separate, because when I think about my awkward teenage years, it's not, awkwardness wasn't, getting caught stealing Sprite at Quiznos the several times that I did, or lining up with my friends in this bizarre formation. Every single morning, we would all kind of huddle in this square and talk about where we hoped to get fingered. That wasn't awkward to me. What was awkward to me was all of the changing, kind of uncontrollable things happening at home. My home life, like I said, my parents were divorced, and they had just been divorced for 4 years. And my mom just had a baby with my basketball coach, aka my stepdad. And she had to have my baby during Sonia's sleepover party. So I had to leave Sonia's sleepover party and watch her give birth to life. Ridiculous. Also, my dad was on girlfriend number 5, and this girlfriend didn't speak English. The only time she spoke was actually speaking the transliteration of Hebrew at my bat mitzvah. Unbelievable. And then to make matters worse, my stepdad, he would always wear this T-shirt that had a school of sperm on it, and it said varsity swim team. This was like constantly. So I was dealing with that. I know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm dealing with this at home, and it's so important for me to have these worlds separate. And then one day, in 8th grade, Sarai Velez, a newer friend of mine, she comes running towards me with this invitation, and she hands it to me, and I look at it, and I see that the entire invitation is filled with my mother's handwriting. And she says, "Yo, Al Dog, what the hell?" And I said, and I'm looking at this invitation, and I see that it says, "Shh, it's a surprise. You are invited to Ali's surprise 14th birthday pool party. Location, 90 Edgewater Drive. That's my dad's apartment. Okay? Pool room. Bring a change of clothes." And I look at Sarai, and I'm like, okay, you totally just ruined my surprise party. And I realized that this is not her invitation. She wasn't invited, and she's looking at me to get her to invite her to my party. And I look back at her, and I'm like, what the hell, Sarai? Oh my God! Are you serious? But you have to come, okay? And in that moment, I feel so torn, because I feel such a sense of protection for my mom, and I almost know instantly that I'm not going to tell my mom that I have to have this party. But I also am so worried, like, now my friends are going to come, they're going to maybe meet my dad's girlfriend, they're going to see my stepdad wearing the sperm shirt, maybe they're going to be so excited to meet my baby brother that they're not going to be paying attention to me. There were so many things that I just didn't know what I control, but I realized that I did have control over one thing, and that was the bikini that I wore and my change of clothes. And so I remember walking into the party room, and I'm wearing this beautiful bikini that I got from Bloomingdale's. It was like the nicest bathing suit that I've ever gotten, honestly, to this day. And it had these like beautiful yellow petals on the strings, and I felt like this was my armor, that this was keeping me safe. And I remember walking in, and I close my eyes, and I take a deep breath. And now I'm going to practice to see if I still got it, all right? So we're all going to be at my party, and we're going to pretend to surprise me. Are you guys into this? Yeah. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to get off of the mic stand here. Okay, so does anyone want to be my mom? Great. All right, you, awkward teen. Hello. Welcome. Oh, you can come to the stage. You might as well. Fantastic. Didn't plan for this. Everyone give it up for the awkward teen. Thank you so much. All right, you can just stand right there. Thank you for doing this. So kind of you. Okay, so what you're going to do is I'm going to go backstage, and you're going to say, and I'm going to say, hit it, and you're going to say 3, 2, 1, and that's going to cue everyone here that are all my friends attending my surprise party that you planned. You're going to say surprise. Got it? Yeah. Okay, got it, Mom? Fantastic. All right. Here we go. So here's how it all went down. Hit it! 3, 2, 1. Surprise! Thank you all so much. You all got fingered that night. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we made history tonight. That is our first interactive bit of storytelling we've ever had on Awkward Teenagers. Awkward Teen, we are looking for a mascot, so If the next show, if you just want to stand outside and like spin an arrow sign or something, that'd be great. No, thank you so much for participating. I know, right? Cool teen, less awkward, very cool. Yeah, varsity swim team makes my skin crawl. It really does. It really does. But you know who would get a kick out of that? My wife. That is right up her alley of humor. One more time for Allie, everyone. All right. We are going to keep the show moving along. Our next storyteller is getting ready for her first hour in the show Awkward Sex in the City. It's a shared universe. At Caveat, what date is that happening?
August 22nd.
It is happening on August 22nd. So please give a warm round of applause for Natalie Wall.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like, I'm going to angle it so like I can also see my picture at the same time. And we're going to be really close. Thank you so much. This is my first time performing since my injury, so I am mortified to also tell you my story as well. But again, thank you so much for having me on the show. Can we give it up for this fucking prom updo? Can we please? Senior year, can you see the blonde highlights with the fake red hair? Glorious, glorious. I could talk about this the whole time, but I'm not. Sorry, I just choked on my own spit. Here we go. So I won Ali's mom. It does get better, I promise. So when I was growing up, I just thought I was like a late bloomer, like a little awkward late bloomer. And then one day I realized that I went to a quaint little school in 8th grade called St. William of York, a Catholic school, if you will. No applause, thank you. And the graduating class of my 8th grade was 12 children, 2 of which were boys. Yes, it was a bloodbath. Yes, one of them was my best friend. Yes, I was in love with him. But we never crossed that line. We never, Ross and Rachel did. We never knew. It was too small of a crowd, you know? But we did at one school function while watching the first Fast and Furious, which I don't know why that was a Catholic school function. Our legs touched like the whole time and did confirm that he felt the same way about me. I would years later drunk dial him in college all the time and be like, I loved you. And he was like, why are you telling me this? I could have used this information 2 years ago. And I was like, just so you know. But so I went from that 12-person 8th grade to a high school with thousands of children. So like the odds were not in my favor to learn like general social norms. Like 8th grade was great. 9th grade was fucking bleak. Like, I'm talking, I was so weird, I could not make eye contact with you. To this day, it is still a struggle. If you talk to me after the show, I will look away first. It's just gonna happen. You win every time. So like I said, 9th grade's bleak, but 10th grade rolls around. I stop wearing beige capris every day. I learn about mascara, and I now have the attention of my school bus's local bad boy, Bobby Fecko, spelled B-O-I because it is 2005. To set the scene of it was 2004 actually, 2004. To set the scene in the school bus, there's this one girl, she's very nice, she wore all black, she sat in the back corner, and she played very loudly from her little portable CD player that one of the 2 Evanescence songs on repeat. Every morning, every afternoon, every early dismissal, like, and you know the exact song I'm talking about, just over and over. And you're like, here's the crescendo, here we go, and over. And I do want to recognize that bad boys in 2004 were just assholes, but they were super cute, right? Like he had a dimple, so he got away with everything. But I don't know why he's into me, right? I don't know if it's maybe like my pre-braces fangs, which in this blurry photo you can still see, or like my obvious virginity, I don't know. He was smitten, so I was in love. And I will give him this, he never pressured me to have sex. It's not that type of story, but that's also the bare fucking minimum, right? He would also teach me how to French kiss, right? It was so romantic. It was in my backyard because my parents were like, he can absolutely never come into our house. He is an asshole. Which made it all the more romantic. I was like, Romeo and Juliet. I was just like, I'm a fucking woman now, you know? Like, I was on cloud 9. I remember being like, I don't understand that Single by Britney Spears anymore. I am a woman. And then a week later, I would find out that Bobby Fecko thought I was a terrible kisser, which first off, he fucking taught me, so what does that say, you know? And I found out in the most tragic way. What happened was I invited him over to my friend Sasha, who is one of the girls from St. Louis, New York, that I was best friends with, to her house. And also our friend Rosa, also one of the girls from St. Louis, New York. So 30% of my graduating class is in this fucking house that day. He would cheat on me with Sasha in her bedroom while I was in the next room, none the wiser, watching like MTV Cribs or some shit with Rosa. Great show. Great show. Highly recommend if you've never seen it. And I would leave with him too. I'd be none the wiser. He would drive me home in his car with no driver's license. And the way I would find out was, one, he would ignore all my calls and ignore me in public. Because we were on the same fucking bus route, like we were around. And Rosa calls me because her and Bobby got real close all of a sudden, platonically. And she was like, yeah, Natalie, I'm so sorry, but like Bobby thinks you're a bad kisser. So he's gonna date Sasha now, because Sasha's a good kisser. And that's it, like that is the fucking like breakup. Fucking guillotine, right? Like I was like, oh my God, no one can ever know about this, right? Because being told you're a bad kisser in fucking middle school or high school is like the kiss of death. Honestly, being told that at any point is the kiss of death. Can you imagine being 53 and someone's like, you're a bad kisser? Your whole life just like flashes before you. You're like, was everything a lie? Oh my God. So he gets his driver's license, he stops riding the bus, I like never see him again, thank God. Senior year, this is senior year, rolls up. I now basically look like this, which I'm gonna look like for the rest of my life, which is my mother. I look exactly like my mom, which is cool. I think she's gorgeous, but what happened was she would use me as a guinea pig for all like the beauty trends and beauty products to see how it would look on her by doing it on me. And for 2004, the main beauty trend was skin cancer. And you can't tell by my skin. I have never been tan in my life, and she did at least have the wherewithal to be like, we cannot handle tanning salons unless we do want 3rd-degree burns in 7 minutes. So she got the next best thing, which was boxed fake tanner. And like, I think there's good ones out there now, I don't know, but in 2004, they were not good, right? Theoretically, you just like scrub it on and then you're like tan, and that's it. That's not what happened. She throws me outside on a hot summer day with like a bottle of water for myself and the boxed fake tanner, and she's like, don't get it on the concrete because I don't know how permanent this is, and I will ground you if you do. But I am super excited because, again, if you can't tell, I've never been tan, so this is my fucking chance. So I'm taking it so seriously, and I'm trying to make it look super natural, because for me, the name of the game is all natural. I want someone to see me and be like, wow, she's so naturally tan. So I'm like doing it on my forearms lighter than on the outside because like the sun wouldn't touch it as much, and like same with my inner thighs, but my knees were really dark because it's coming straight down. And I wore a bikini to do like tan lines, so that way later I could be like, hey, look at my tan lines. And my mom took one look at me and she was like, how long did the box say this was gonna last? And I was like, a week. And she was like, this is so great that I had you do it and not me. So I didn't have to go to work looking like this. But I was like, whatever, I look great. I have tan legs, you don't. And literally only tan legs because I gave myself a sock tan because I was like, well, in reality, I'd be wearing shoes. So my feet wouldn't get tan. And then later I could be like, hey, look at my tan lines. I did look like Tony the Tiger from the neck to ankles because I also didn't put anything on my face because that felt weird to me. So my mom was like, okay, cool, you cannot come inside for the next 3 days because we have white carpeting because I am a sadist and you're locked out. But my friend called me and was like, do you want to go to the pool? And I was like, I absolutely want to go to the pool. I'm in a bikini with tan legs. I'm made for the pool right now. And so I'm walking over to the pool. It was like a neighborhood pool. I'm walking over and I was like, oh my God, like that lifeguard's gonna fucking fall in love with me. Like, I can't wait to see their face when they're like, that girl is who I fucking marry. I walk in, and one of the 2 lifeguards is Bobby. And we lock eyes, and my heart just like drops out of my butthole. I was like, oh no, it's Bobby. But then I recovered kind of quickly because I was like, whatever, I'm tan. I win. So I go over to my friend Amanda, we set our stuff on the chairs, and I start walking into the pool. Like, I felt like a James Bond girl. Like, I was like, oh, look at me splash in the water in my bikini. And I'm going down, making direct eye contact one of the few times with Bobby, and I'm like, look at me. Look what you missed. And then my friend Amanda goes, did you just pee? Yeah, uh-huh. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And I looked down, and there is just this sea of orange cascading all around my body, getting bigger and bigger with each ripple, right? And I was like, I don't know what to do. Because if I leave, everyone will think I have peed myself in this pool. And then Bobby will be like, yeah, she peed. And also, she's a terrible kisser. So I fucking stayed. I swam in that pool for hours, okay? Needless to say, when I got out of the pool, that pool was no longer blue. And I was no longer tan. But I did leave with my head held up high. And a week later, Bobby did try to get back together with me. And I got to be like, no, thank you. Guys, thank you so much. It was such a blast.
Oh my God. I graduated high school in 2007, and that was a pure nostalgia trip for me in so many ways. Like I mentioned, I'm from suburban Alabama. I knew so many white girls who were just covered in bad self-tanner and everything, and I'm like, you are naturally translucent. I don't know what you think you're gonna try to pull off here. Also, if you knew any kid dressed in an all black in 2004, it was absolutely Evanescence. Like, Can I take a shot at the song?
Absolutely.
My Immortal?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. I'm so tired of being here. One more time for Natalie. All right, keeping things moving along. Our next storyteller is an engineer and a serial hobbyist. Having a serial hobbyist, having dabbled in cooking, piano, improv, and many sports, more recently surfing and swimming, and is now on a journey to practice the craft of storytelling. Give him a round of applause. He loves spending quality time with friends, meeting new people, traveling when possible. Lately, he's been doing awareness work for the ongoing conflict in Sudan. Please welcome Ahmed Abdalla.
Hey everyone, great to be with y'all tonight. So, that's me. So in middle school, I was a collector. It started off with Pokemon cards initially, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, whatever. Then as I got older, it became video games, CDs, movies, that sort of thing. But the things I collected were really special to me because I bought them with my own money. See, we didn't have a culture of getting gifts at home. So my parents are from Sudan, which is south of Egypt, from a farming village. It's not like we didn't celebrate birthdays when you're from Sudan, when you're from a farming village. So my parents never did it at home. And we also, a Muslim, so we didn't really have religious holidays like Christmas where you get a lot of presents. So I bought the stuff that I had, and I would usually cut grass in the neighborhood, cut it along for like $15, $20, and then I'd go to GameStop or whatever, just accumulate whatever I had. One time I got a present from a friend of mine who lived in another state, and he gave me the video game Super Smash Bros. Melee. Anybody here play it? Yes. It was for the video game, for the GameCube console. And at the time, it was like the hotness. I mean, even to this day, it's a classic game, like Mario Kart, it's very important. So of course, I'm telling people I had the game too, adding it to my collection. I'm loving it, but this time it's a gift. It's more special than something I bought myself. So I'm telling people, one of my friends, best friend at the time, his name's Labby, he says he wants to borrow it, and I'm kind of like, that's my thing. But what kind of best friend would I be if I didn't let him borrow it, right? And me and Labby would see each other a lot every Sunday at Sunday school for sure. That's where our parents sent us to go learn our religion. And our moms are also close with each other, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it, I hesitated, but you know what? I had to let him borrow it, so I let him borrow it. I show up Sunday school, I give him the game, And I tell him, though, he only has 1 week. Again, it's a hot game. It's important to me. He's got to bring it back in a week. So I let him borrow it. A week goes by. We show up to Sunday school, and I say, okay, cool. I'm now expecting to get the game back. I'm going to be complete. Everything's going to be all right. And he says he can't find the game. And my heart sinks. I'm like, ugh, I'm starting to regret. Why did I do this? Why? So I tell him, okay, look, you get 1 more week to find it. You got, next Sunday, I'll see you. You're going to find the game. You're going to give it to me. And I knew his house was not that big. He can find it. And he's also not the type of person who would lie. He's a good kid. Like, to give you an example, one time his mom came over to our place, and she was like telling the story of how like these kids in the neighborhood told Livy to come with them to steal this bike, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. He really was a good kid. He didn't do bad things. So he lost his game, and I'll give him time to find it. So week 2, we show up at Sunday school, and I'm looking for the game, and I'm hoping to get the game back from him, and I say, hey, where's my game? And he says, dude, I still can't find it. And at this time, I'm like really starting to like get angry. I'm like fuming. And I'm like, okay, like, how patient can I be? And it's my thing. Of course, I'm also thinking like, what am I gonna tell my friend who gave me this game that I let someone borrow and they lost it? Like, no, it's not acceptable. You gotta give it back. So I tell him, look, next week, you gotta bring me the game, you gotta find it, or you gotta pay me for it. Now he worked a job where like he passed out newspapers, so I knew he made money. And so he was good for it. He could pay it. He could afford it. So next Sunday comes around, and he doesn't have the game, and he didn't have the money. So I'm sitting there at the parking lot of our mosque, and I'm yelling at him, and he's yelling at me, and I'm yelling back at him, and he's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have it. I can't find it, da-da-da. And I am getting so angry at this point that out of nowhere, I decided to like swing at his face. I punched him in the face. I know. It was the first time and last time my life have initiated a fight. I didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, my experience with fighting for both of us at that point was Dragon Ball Z, the movies, probably Super Smash Bros. Melee, of course. I swung at his face as hard as I could, and for a reason I thought like he would go down, he would cry, he'd run away. But to my surprise, he punched me back. I was like, oh, damn it, I'm in a fight right now. And so neither one of us knows how to fight. He's swinging at me, I'm swinging at him. Neither of us are protecting our faces. The kids around us are yelling. Our parents come and break us up, and my dad is like furious. Our parents are yelling at each other. But during that fight, I'll just say one interesting thing that was really interesting to me, which was, when you get pinched, it hurts. If you pinch yourself, someone pinches you, it hurts. But as I was getting punched in the face, it did not hurt at all. It just felt like a thud. And then I would later on learn that whenever boxers or professional fighters are fighting, there's like the adrenaline of the moment keeps the pain away, so you don't feel anything. So I'm like taking his, and he's taking his. I'm like, God damn it, when is this gonna end? It's just like, it was like really interesting that I could just observe this moment and not like, and of course that's probably why he didn't go down. That's why he didn't cry when I took my hardest swing at him. I'm looking at him, freaking brawling, right? So our parents break us up, and it was really awkward. I'm in a lot of trouble, whatever. And a week later, his mom comes over, and she gives me the money. She gives us the money for the game. But I kind of felt crummy about it. Felt crummy with the whole experience. She gave me, when she gave me the money, I didn't feel like going to buy the game again. I didn't it was like, this is kind of weird, whatever. And a few weeks pass on, and I'm like, God damn it, I think I ruined my relationship with this person. It was like at the time my best friend, right? I couldn't really hit him up because I kind of swung at his face. And so, being awkward, as it was back then, I decided to let it go, and I went up to him and I gave him the money back. And instead of saying, hey, what you did was really hurt me, and I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have reacted that way. I was like, hey, here's the money, and whatever, it's whatever. I just couldn't bring myself to express how I felt and how I wanted us to move over past this moment. But of course, we'd go on to be best friends in college, and there's nobody I'd hang out with more than him, and he'd come over, I'd go to his place. To this day, we're still in touch. But I think from that moment, I kind of learned that to never really prioritize my material possessions over my relationships with people. A year later, in high school junior year, somebody borrowed a movie from mine. It was a Final Fantasy Advent Children. It was the DVD. Oh, yeah. And they, when I got it back from them, it was scratched up. And of course, I love keeping my things neat. I love, owning everything I have, and making sure it's gonna live forever or something. And instead of blowing up at him, I just let it go. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna. I think that was an overreaction where instead of saying, hey, I expected to treat my stuff better, blah blah blah. At this point, I just wanted to so course correct from what I did by just not reacting at all, which is of course I'm still figuring out how to deal with those emotions. And of course, I want to say that, if you're ever having a conflict with anyone, violence is not the answer. Thank you for your time.
Oh, wow. I remember when Super Smash Brothers came out, and that was a big deal. It's Mario and it's Kirby and Donkey Kong all in one game and everything. If I could go back in a time machine to that kid, it's like, hey, 2012, there's this little thing called the Avengers, and you're gonna love how they do it. No, but you're right about the how your body just doesn't process the pain immediately. I was on the wrestling team between middle school and high school, and there was one match in particular where this guy straight up picked me up and dropped me on my head, and I truly think it is by like the required headgear I had to wear that I was going on. And to my own amazement, my body just kind of gradually got back up, turned back to my coach, and just gave him one of these. But the little survivor voice in the back of my brain was going, "What are you doing? Stay down! No, don't do it again!" Anyway, one more time for Ahmed. Oh, man. All right. Keep the show moving along. Yeah. Our next storyteller is a storyteller from Brooklyn. She is the host and producer of the new storytelling comedy series, The Ethnic Isle. She will break out into song randomly and give you unsolicited skincare advice. How am I doing, by the way? Am I doing okay up here?
We can talk.
All right, we'll talk. Give it up for Deandra Anjahlee.
Hi. This is really close. How y'all feel? Yeah, that's being real seductive. We'll talk. Y'all look good. Okay, this feels good. I can see y'all filling up behind me. That sounds crazy. I'm gonna just go on. Anyway, so there's something about being a teenager that makes you really see the value in a good staircase. And like, yeah, a good staircase, like, it doesn't have any pee. There are no remnants of like blood droplets from an earlier altercation. They're good acoustics, for rehearsals. And like staircases for me were just so important. This is where I got my hair done sometimes. This is where I had my dance rehearsals with my homegirls. This is where we had secret meetings about who didn't share their chips, And so space overall was it was a luxury growing up in New York. I mean, by the time I hit puberty, I was still sharing a room with my mom. Immigrants all over New York were sharing beds like shifts. And so, I used staircases as a place to develop and explore intimacy, I was dating, and I say it with the air quotes because when I was in middle school, I was not allowed to go on any dates. But I was dating this guy in middle school for a little while. I don't know even how I really got into the relationship. I never agreed to go together. I just realized like one day I was on three-way, and then the next day I was summoned to sit next to Malcolm. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm cool with Malcolm, this is cool. The day after that, I was told, you guys ought to hold hands. And by the third day, I had really realized, I guess this is real. I guess we go together now. And I was like, all right, this is cool, It was for the greater good of the school community. Certain relationships just had to happen. It just worked like that. And I knew my responsibility, I'm a global citizen, so. So there was this rumble. And this rumble happened every day. It's those 3 to 4 minutes before you transition to the cafeteria. And it's like the staircases, they just come alive and it's shaking, and there's like battle cries and war cries, and people are stepping on each other's shoes, and people are pulling people back by their book bags or sliding down the rails. And it's just so live because these are the few minutes where there are no supervisors, there are no teachers. They let us get down to that cafeteria by ourselves and anything can happen. And it was during one of these rumblings, one of these transitions where I felt like my feet were like floating up off the ground, and suddenly I was in a corner of the staircase. And a second later, Malcolm was like pressed up against me, and it smelled like candy. Felix, who was a third in our relationship, Malcolm's best friend, had grabbed him by the book bag straps and remote operated him right into my face. And it was kids all the way to the top of one landing staring down at us, and it was kids all the way to the bottom like staring up, and I knew what they wanted. It was like hot, it was loud, it was intense, and I was like, all right, I think I might be with this. Let's see. And Malcolm, I'm not sure who told him that this is how kisses work, but he opened his like entire face to greet mine, and I let it happen. But like, you know, while it was going on, I was feeling bits of the sour power candy straws find their way between like my cheek and my gum, and I was like, oh, this is nasty. My chin was wet. Malcolm was a spitty kisser, and it was just like, please let this be over. I don't want this. I don't want it no more. And it was over, and the kids, they yelled, it was roaring, and it was good, and we did our duty to the 7th and 8th grade class. We offered the entertainment that was necessary. And I just couldn't wait to get down to the schoolyard and play Homicide. Terrible name for a game. But, you know, I had that handle and I was ready to beam Felix in the shoulder blade because I'm like, how could you do this? The three of us, you know, our throuple, so to say, we broke up, I think via a note that I passed to Felix, and it was just like, I think this is over. But staircases, they continued to be a place for critical development in my life. When I was in high school, I thought I found my husband, and that was wrong. That was erroneous. But he had a apartment that he shared with his mom and 3 adopted brothers and 3 foster brothers, and it was hella twin beds and bunk beds, and there was no privacy. So, you know, we were hitting the milestones in the staircases. I had graduated to over the clothes feels, you know, a little under the shirt action, but still over the bra. You know, I was making the steps. I was graduating. But like one day, the late bell had rung. We still in the staircase. We, you know, was doing a little kissing. And I feel something. And I'm like, I know. I look down. He takes out his whole dick in the staircase. And I'm just like, oh my God. I know. I look away, I look back, I look away. It's like there's a bit of shame, but there's intrigue. And I say the only thing that I can think of. I blurt out, I'm a Christian. And just so you know, this picture was taken at church. So that shows you how I feel about, you know, that relationship at that time. I mean, I fuck with the Lord, but that was not really the case. I was just scared. And he got it. He tucked it away. We went back to class. And, you know, space continued to be an issue for us to the point where once we turned 18 and we were working, we started to like rent motel rooms because we had to graduate to the next steps. And we eventually decided to get an apartment, like right out of high school. Dumb shit. We broke up. We broke up, and I had to move right back to that cramped space and sneaking phone calls in the staircases and in the bathroom. And then I got roommates, and then I got more roommates. And then I got another boyfriend, and he was like, we can't do this roommate shit. Let's get an apartment. I was like, oh my God. And then we got a bigger apartment to fit our ideas as they grew. So when that relationship ended, it was like, not only am I mourning the relationship, but I'm grieving my 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony. All of that stuff that I've accumulated from 14 to now, I can't take it with me. And so, you know, that hurt different. And I humbled myself again. And I went back to my mom's, and that kind of had been going on for a few years. But this week is really special, not just because I get to share this space with all of you beautiful, non-musty people, but because I get to pick up keys to my apartment this week. No boyfriends, no roommates. Tons of room for activities, choreography, over the clothes and under. And I just hope if you're passing a group of kids on the stairs, you know, living their best lives, you just hold a little grace for them. Thank you.
Young man. You do what you gotta do. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I was only going to impart if he did not have to go to the bathroom, I would have imparted do not do that at school. And also, whenever you are fortunate enough to kiss a girl, make sure your breath does not smell like Sour Patch Kids. That's a very important piece of advice, I think. And I think that's the main lesson you were trying to impart, is just make sure your breath does not smell.
Don't have any leftover bits.
Exactly. Exactly. No leftover bits. I'm gonna make a sign out of that one more time for teenagers. How are you guys doing? Are you having a great time tonight? Great. We really appreciate you guys being here. Got to do a little housekeeping before we get to our final storyteller of the night. Maybe you've been watching the show and you've been thinking, oh, hey, you know what? This reminds me of something that happened to me in high school and middle school. Recap, don't do that. But anyway, maybe this reminds you of something that happened when you were in middle school and you were in high school, and you're like, oh, maybe that's something I feel comfortable talking about on stage. Well, guess what? We are actively looking for pitches for future shows. If you have an idea for a story you want to tell on our show, send like 2 or 3 sentences of what your story is about to awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We are actively looking. In fact, we have had a few people who have never gotten on stage before, never told a story before. We've helped them get their stories ready for the show, and they've killed. It's always a really fun experience. We love meeting new people. Please send your pitches there. If you want to find out more about future shows, stay up to date, you can follow us at Instagram at awkwardteenageyears, Facebook at Awkward Teenage Years. We're not on Twitter anymore. We're on Threads. I finally figured out that Threads finally show that, like, oh, if you post something to Instagram, you can automatically have it go to Threads. And I'm like, oh, that's great. So now our Threads is going to be more active. And also, just another Instagram. So you can find us on there for updates on future shows and our next lineup. And also, we have been doing this show for the past 4 years. We started, thank you. A little longer than 4 years. We started as part of the Frigid Festival back in 2020, the week before the world shut down, right here in this very theater when it was just me, my friend Will, our friend Anastasia, and then during COVID, we came up with the idea to do it as a live stream on Twitch, and in doing so, that put us in the habit of recording our shows, and eventually we were doing live shows again right here in this very theater. So if you want to see a backlog of any of our past shows, except for the one where nothing was working, you can find it at, Jameer Pond was at a show where none of the tech worked. None of the tech worked, none of the cameras were working, the lights weren't working, the microphone. It was a great night. So, and there were 3 people in the audience. So anyway, you can find our backlog of past shows on YouTube. Just search for @AwkwardTeenageYears. Give us a like and subscribe. We've had several amazing shows with a lot of great storytellers on them, so we hope you'll check it out. And with that, we come to our final storyteller of the night. Are you guys ready? Yeah. All right. Our final storyteller of the night. He is a New York-based actor, writer, storyteller, and producer. He has performed solo work at The Pit, The Magnet, and Studio Tish. He is also the co-founder of a bi-monthly storytelling show at Young Ethel's Bar in Park Slope. Is there a name for that show?
Yes, it's called The Best Storytelling Show We Promise.
The Best Storytelling Show We Promise, with the best story we promise, kind of. Please welcome Jonathan Bock.
Hi, everybody. And Jameer was a guest last time, and he was amazing. So anyway, that has nothing to do with anything, but he was amazing. I don't get good haircuts. This is a serious problem in my life. Like, I cannot remember the last time I got a good haircut. But the real issue is that this is entirely my fault. Because I've been going to get a haircut with the same guy for 15 years, and he's terrible, and I refuse to change. He works in a basement, and his name is Speedy, And he gives me terrible haircuts because he's too busy telling me about all the women that he's sleeping with. And also, he calls me rude boy, which, I think is pretty sure like a Jamaican term for fans of ska music. Yeah, is that, I don't know. So it's like a whole situation, but I love the guy because we've become really good friends. And recently, I was there and I was sitting in the chair and he was giving me like a particularly horrible haircut. And it was terrible. And I'm staring at myself in the mirror and I'm like, why do I keep going back to this guy? Like why am I so scared of change? And just in this moment, I remember this specific haircut that I got when I was 13. And I know exactly why I keep going to Speedy. So, when I was in middle school, I was terrified of everything. I was the scaredest little kid. And in order to deal with this, I wanted to become an adult as soon as possible. Because in my mind, I thought becoming an adult would mean that I wouldn't be scared anymore. So I started to do things that made me feel like an adult, even if it was a little bit premature. So I started to shave, even though I had no facial hair. And I started to wear Dracar Noir cologne, which is like from the 80s. And I got my friend to buy me a box of condoms because I was too scared to get them myself. But I did specify that I wanted them ribbed. This is so important to me that they be ribbed. And also, I'm fairly certain that that box expired before I was ever able to use them. But the main thing, the most important thing that I did was that I started to go get haircuts on my own without my mom and dad. And this was crucial for me because I thought that haircuts, like a good haircut, was my way in. I had seen Saved by the Bell. I knew the power of a good haircut. Zach Morris got all the women. And this is going to happen to me. The problem was that, as I said, I do not get good haircuts. And so it was a disaster. Every single time I went with all this hope and excitement, and I'd leave looking worse than before. And every time I would get home, I'd see my mom, and she would say the same exact thing. And it was like the weirdest phrase. I'm not really sure why she said it, but every single time she would say, "Oh my God, what did they do to you?" I would walk into the apartment, and before I could even see her, I'd just hear, "Oh my God, what did they do to you?" So, this was like a staple and a part of my life. And then all of a sudden, my mom really had enough. So she tells me that she's paying for me to go get a haircut at her fancy salon in Midtown. And I was fucking thrilled. This was the best moment of my life because I thought, finally, this is my entryway into the adult world. I'm finally gonna make this happen. So the day of the appointment, I show up at the salon. I walk in and it is a scene. It's like a whole scene. There is leopard print everywhere. There's music blasting. There's like white, shiny floors and model photos on the walls. And there's women everywhere flipping magazines with like tinfoil on their head. And I don't know what's going on. And I tiptoe effectively to the front desk. And I'm pretty timid. And I check in and I'm expecting that the receptionist is just gonna like bring me back to get my hair cut like usual, right? But instead, she reaches behind her and she pulls out a robe. And then, and I have no idea to this day why she did this still, she takes me to a dressing room, she ushers me in the dressing room and closes the curtain behind me without another word. Okay, so this has never happened to me before at this point, so I had no idea what was going on. I cannot stress enough, I had no idea what was happening. And when you're 13 and you're trying to be an adult, the key is to not ask any questions because you have no idea what's going on. But you have to pretend like you do, otherwise you're going to be found out. So I stare at myself in the mirror and I'm trying to understand what to do. And I realize that at this place, the fact of the robe and the fact of the dressing room and the fact that she closed the curtain must mean that at this place, you take all your clothes off first and then you put the robe on after. I mean, this seemed pretty logical to me because this must be a spa. I decided I was at a spa. Right, thank you. So, I get fully naked. And I stare at my white, pudgy, bright pubescent body, and I feel one, incredibly cold, and two, this vague sort of nauseous feeling that perhaps this is not correct, that I may be doing something wrong, I don't know. And I think to myself, whatever, I gotta go forward. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And right as I'm about to pull the curtain and go back out into the lobby, I'm like, no, wait a minute. No, this is wrong. I'm gonna put my underwear back on. At least I'll cover back up. So I put my underwear back on, I put the robe on over that, I grab all of my clothes, I look at myself in the mirror once more. I literally think I'm gonna throw up, and then I pull the curtain and I step back out into the lobby, and there's all this commotion, no one notices me yet, and I walk up to the front desk, and the receptionist, and this poor woman, is on the phone, and she's having a conversation, and I step in front of her, and I say, "Where should I put my clothes?" And she stops speaking mid-sentence, like she just fully stops. And she removes the phone from her ear, and her jaw just drops, and it's like slow motion, like in Usual Suspects, like when the guy like realizes who Kaiser Sose is. Anyone? Anyway, it's like slow motion. And she looks at me, and she starts to laugh, like a deep, deep belly laugh. Like this is profoundly funny to her, and she's trying so hard not to laugh, this poor woman, because she doesn't want to hurt my feelings, I'm assuming. She's trying so hard not to laugh, and the more she tries not to laugh, the more she laughs. And the more she laughs, the more other people notice this person hysterically laughing. And so more people start to turn and see me, and now they're laughing. And the more people in the room are laughing, there are like hairstylists who are coming from around the corner to see what all the commotion is. Like I turn around and people are like leaning this way to look and see me, and this entire room is hysterically laughing at me. You know, this is like a nightmare that you might have when you're naked and you go, to work naked or something like that, except it's real, and it's my life. And everyone is hysterically laughing at me. And she recovers enough to point at me and say, "What's this all about?" And I just stare back at her because I don't have anything to say. And then she says, "You're not supposed to get naked." So I take all my stuff and I go back into the dressing room and I pull the curtain and I get dressed. And I have to tell you, I have no memory of the rest of this story. I fully have blanked out anything else this has happened, except that I have never been to a salon since. And so I found my comfort in Speedy. And so it just so happened that the night that I was getting my haircut from Speedy and having this memory, having this realization of this terrible thing that happened to me, I was getting dinner with my mom. I was going over to her apartment to have dinner. So I finish my haircut with Speedy. I tip the man. I tell him I'll see him in a couple of months. I leave. I get some food. I show up to my mom's apartment. Remember, I've just had a haircut from Speedy. I show up to my mom's apartment. She turns and she says, "Oh my God, what did they do to you?" And I look at her and I say, "You have no idea." Thank you.
Oh, you did good, rude boy. You did good. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. Give it up one more time for Ali, Natalie, Ahmed, Deandra, Jonathan. Give it up for the staff here at Under St. Mark's. Give it up for Lauren, our tech wizard, up in the booth. Everybody, that is our show. Our next show will be September 4th, right here at Under St. Mark's. We hope you will come back and join us then. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.